Romans chapter 7. Or are you ignorant, brothers and sisters? I am speaking to those who have some knowledge of law, that the law is like a master over a human, for as long as he lives. For a married woman is bound by law to her husband while he is living. Yet if her husband dies, she has become exempt from the power of the law concerning her husband. So therefore, if she becomes another man's wife while her husband is living, she will be dealt with as a wife who has extramarital sexual intercourse. Yet if her husband dies, she is free from the law, and if she becomes another man's wife, she isn't a wife who has extramarital sexual intercourse. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, you also were made dead to the law by means of the Anointed One's body, so that you might become the wife of another, the one who has been awakened from among the dead, so that we might produce fruit for Almighty. For while we were in the flesh, the passions of wrongdoings that were by means of the law operated in our body parts to produce fruit that results in death, in the fiery destruction. But now we have been exempted from the power of the law, since we have died to what was holding on to us, so that we might be continually slaving in the new sphere of the Spirit, and not in the old sphere of the writing. So then, what shall we declare? That the law is wrongdoing? May it not come to that. Rather, I didn't know what wrongdoing was, except by means of the law. In addition, I wouldn't have been aware of desiring, except that the law was saying, "You must not desire." Exodus 20, verse 17. Now when wrongdoing got the occasion, it produced in me, by means of this direction, desiring of every kind. For apart from the law, wrongdoing is dead. Now I was once alive apart from the law, as a child. Yet when the direction came to me, wrongdoing was revived, and I died spiritually. And this direction that was to result in life in the last age was found to result in death, or the second death, Revelation 20, verses 14 through 15, for me. For when wrongdoing got the occasion, it totally enticed me by means of the direction, and by means of it killed me spiritually. Therefore the law is pure, and the direction pure, just, or right, and good. So then, did that which is good become death to me? May it not come to that. Rather, it was wrongdoing, so that it might appear as wrongdoing, that was continually producing my death by means of that which is good, so that by means of the direction, wrongdoing might become immensely wrong. For we are aware that the law is spiritual, yet I am a fleshly person, since I have been disposed of by sale, as a slave to wrongdoing. Because what I am producing, I don't know. For I'm not putting into practice what I want to do, but I am doing the very thing that I hate. Now if I am doing the very thing that I don't want to do, this means that I am conceding that the law is ideal. Yet it is a fact that it is no longer I who am producing it, but wrongdoing which is making its home in me. For I am aware that goodness isn't making its home in me, that is, in my flesh, for the wanting is here with me, but the producing of what is ideal isn't. For I'm not doing the good that I want to do, but rather I am putting into practice the very bad thing that I don't want to do. Now, if I am doing the very thing that I don't want to do, this means that it is no longer I who am producing it, but wrongdoing which is making its home in me. Therefore, I find the law that, whenever I want to do that which is ideal, that which is bad is here with me. For I am consenting with pleasure to Almighty's law, according to the human inside. Yet I am observing a different law among the parts of my body, which is fighting in a war against the law of my mind, and holding me captive to wrongdoing's law, that is in the parts of my body. What a miserable human I am! Who will rescue me out of this body of death? I am continually thanking Almighty that it is by means of Jesus, the Anointed One, our Master. So therefore, on the one hand, I myself am slaving for Almighty's law with my mind, yet on the other hand, I am slaving for wrongdoing's law with my flesh. Romans chapter 8. Therefore, there is now no condemnation for those who are in union with the Anointed One Jesus. For the Spirit's law of life, through union with the Anointed One Jesus, has freed you from wrongdoing's law of death, in the fiery destruction. For what was impossible for the law to do, because it was weakened by the flesh, Almighty did by sending His own Son in the likeness of wrongdoing's flesh, and concerning wrongdoing. And He condemned wrongdoing in the flesh, so that the just requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us, who don't walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. For those who are according to the flesh are setting their minds on the things of the flesh, yet those who are according to the Spirit are setting their minds on the things of the Spirit. For the mind that is set on the flesh means death, in the fiery destruction. Yet the mind that is set on the Spirit means life in the last age, and peace with Almighty. Because the mind that is set on the flesh means animosity against Almighty, since it doesn't make itself subservient to Almighty's law, nor is it able to do so. Now those who are under the guidance of the flesh aren't able to please Almighty. Yet you aren't under the guidance of the flesh, but under the guidance of the Spirit, provided that Almighty's Spirit is continually making its home in you. Now whoever doesn't continually have the Anointed One's Spirit doesn't belong to Him. Now if the Anointed One lives in you, then while, on the one hand, your bodies are dead because of wrongdoing, on the other hand, your spirits are alive because of being right and just before Almighty. Now if the Spirit of the one who woke up Jesus from among the dead is continually making its home in you, then this one who woke up the Anointed One Jesus from among the dead will also give life to your dying bodies by means of His Spirit that is making its home in you. So therefore, brothers and sisters, we are debtors, but not to the flesh, to be continually living according to the flesh. For if you are continually living according to the flesh, you are going to die the second death. Revelation 20 verses 14 through 15. Yet if under the guidance of the Spirit you are putting the practices of your bodies to death, you will live in the last age. For as many as are continually being led by the guidance of Almighty Spirit are sons of Almighty, meaning they are like Him. For you didn't get a spirit of slavery, again, that results in fear, but you got a spirit of adoption, as sons, by which we are continually yelling out, Abba, Father, Father. The Spirit itself testifies together with our spirits that we are children, or ones born of Almighty. And since we are children, who are also heirs, then, on the one hand, heirs of a share from Almighty, yet on the other hand, fellow heirs of the Anointed One's share, provided that we are suffering together with Him, so that we might also be esteemed together with Him. For I don't regard the sufferings of the current time period worthy of comparison to the esteem that is going to be revealed to us. For the created universe is continually waiting, with anxious expectation, for the revealing of the sons of Almighty, meaning those like Almighty. For the created universe was made subservient to meaninglessness, not voluntarily, but because of the one who made it subservient in hope that the created universe itself also would be freed from the slavery of decay or destruction into the esteemed freedom of the children or ones born of Almighty. For we are aware that the entire created universe is groaning and having labor pains together until now. Yet not only this, but also we ourselves, who have the Spirit as a first fruit. Even we ourselves are groaning inside ourselves, while we are continually waiting for our adoption as sons, meaning to be like Almighty. That is, the liberation of our bodies because of the payment of the ransom. For in this hope we were saved from destruction. Now, whenever someone is observing what he is hoping for, that isn't hope. For why does anyone also hope for what he is observing? Yet if we are hoping for what we aren't observing, then we are continually waiting for it with endurance. Now in the same manner, the Spirit also is continually giving us support in our weakness. For we aren't aware of what we should pray for, to be in accordance with what has to be. But the Spirit itself is continually interceding on our behalf with inexpressible groans. Now the one who is continually searching our hearts is aware of what the Spirit has in mind, because it is continually interceding on behalf of the pure ones in accordance with what Almighty wants. Now we are aware that Almighty is continually causing all things to work together for the good of those who are continually loving Almighty, for those who are, in accordance with His purpose, the called ones. For the ones whom He knew beforehand, He also designated beforehand, as the ones to be transformed together into the image of His Son, so that He might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. Now the ones whom He designated beforehand, these He also called, and the ones whom He called, these He also justified, and the ones whom He justified, these He also esteemed. So then, what shall we declare to these things? If Almighty is for us, who is against us? Definitely the one who didn't spare His own Son, but delivered Him over for us all. Won't He also together with Him be granting us everything as a favor? Who will judicially charge Almighty's chosen ones? Almighty, the one who is doing the justifying? Who is the condemner? The Anointed One Jesus, the one who died, or rather the one who has been awakened, the one who is also continually at the right hand of Almighty, and the one who is also continually interceding on our behalf? What shall separate us from the Anointed One's love? Oppression, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or danger, or sword? Just as it has been written, on account of you, we are being put to death all day long. we are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered. Musical Composition 44, verse 22. No, despite all these things, we are going to be more than conquering through the one who loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor messengers or demons, nor supreme chiefs, Satan and his workers, nor things present, nor things that are going to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing, will be able to separate us from Almighty's love, which is ours through union with the Anointed One Jesus, our Master. Romans chapter 9. I am telling the truth as a person in union with the Anointed One. I'm not lying, as my conscience, enlightened by the pure Spirit, is testifying together with me that my sorrow is great, and ceaseless pain is in my heart. For I could pray that I myself were cursed, and separated from the Anointed One on behalf of my brothers and sisters, my relatives according to the flesh. They are Israelites, who have had the adoption as sons, the esteem, the contracts, the giving of the law, the divine service, and the promises. They have come from the forefathers, and from them according to the flesh has come the Anointed One, who is almighty over all, blessed for the remaining ages, the present age and the last age. Let it be true. Now it isn't as though Almighty's word has lapsed, for not all of those who have come from Israel, or Jacob or Esau's son, are Israel, nor because they are Abraham's seeds, descendants, are they all his children, but it is through Esau that a person will be called your seed, or descendant. Genesis 21, verse 12. That is, it isn't the children who are born of the flesh who are the children of Almighty, but it is the children who are born of the promise that are going to be regarded as the seeds, or descendants. For this is the word of the promise. During this time period I will come, and Sarah will have a son. Genesis 18, verse 10. Yet, not only that, but also when Rebekah became pregnant with twins in her bed by one man, our father Esau. For even though they hadn't yet been born or practiced anything good or foul, so that Almighty's purpose according to his choice might stay, not based on their works, but based on the one calling. It was declared to her, the greater or older will slave for the inferior or younger. Genesis 25, verse 23. Just as it has been written, I loved Jacob, yet I hated Esau. Malachi 1, verses 2 through 3. So then, what shall we declare? It isn't that there is injustice with Almighty, is it? May it not come to that. For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whomever I have mercy, and I will have sympathy for whomever I have sympathy. Exodus 33, verse 19. So therefore, it doesn't depend on the person who is willing or the person who is racing, but on Almighty having mercy. For the writing says to the Pharaoh, For this very purpose I raised you, so that I might display my power in you, and so that my name might be publicized throughout every portion of the earth. Exodus 9, verse 16. So therefore, he has mercy on whom he wants, and he hardens whom he wants. So then, you will protest to me, why does he still find blame? For who has stood up against his intention? You human, who are you? Yes, indeed, definitely, to be responding back to Almighty. The thing molded won't protest to the molder. Why did you make me like this? Will it? Or doesn't the potter have the right over the clay to make out of the same lump one container for an honorable purpose and another one for a dishonorable purpose? Now if Almighty, while wanting to display His anger and to make known His powerful actions, has carried on with much patience towards the containers of His anger, who have already prepared themselves for destruction in the coming fire of the second death, so that He might also make known the riches of His esteem upon the containers of His mercy, whom He has made ready beforehand for esteem, even us whom He has called, not only from among the Jews, but also from among the pagans. As He also says in Hosea, I will call those who weren't my people, and her who wasn't dearly loved, my dearly loved one. Hosea 2, verse 23. Now it shall be that in the place where it was declared to them, You are not my people, there they shall be called sons of the living Almighty. Hosea 1, verse 10. Now Isaiah yells out concerning Israel. Although the number of the sons of Israel is like the sand of the sea, it is the remnant that will be saved from destruction. For the Master will execute His word upon the earth, concluding it and cutting it short. Isaiah 10, verse 23. Also, just as Isaiah has declared beforehand, except the Master of the spiritual armies had conserved us for a seed, we should have become like Sodom and ended up like Gomorrah. Isaiah 1, verse 9. So then, what shall we declare? That the pagans who didn't pursue being right and just before Almighty have grabbed hold of it, yet a rightness and justness before Almighty that is based on faith. Yet Israel, who did pursue a law of rightness and justness before Almighty, didn't overtake such a law? Why? Because they didn't pursue it based on faith, but as though it was based on works. They stumbled over the stone that can cause one to stumble, just as it has been written. Notice, I am laying in Zion, the mountaintop city, a stone that can cause one to stumble, and a rock that can cause one to trip. But whoever is continually having faith in Him won't be put to shame. Isaiah 28, verse 16. Romans chapter 10. Brothers and sisters, my heart's delight and my petition to Almighty for them is for their salvation from destruction. For I can testify about them that they have an enthusiasm for Almighty, and not in accordance with full knowledge found in the Word. For being ignorant of Almighty's method for making people right and just before Him, and seeking to establish their own method for being right and just, they weren't subservient to Almighty's method for making people right and just before Him. For the Anointed One is the law's completion, which is resulting in rightness and justness before Almighty, for everyone who is continually having faith. For Moses writes about the rightness and justness before Almighty that is based on the law, that the human who can do it will have life through it. Leviticus 18, verse 5. Yet he says this about the rightness and justness before Almighty that is based on faith. You must not say in your heart, Who will ascend into heaven? Deuteronomy 30, verse 12. This means to lead the Anointed One down. Or, Who will descend upon the deep pit? This means to lead the Anointed One up from among the dead. Ephesians 4 verse 9. But what does it say? The declaration is near you, in your mouth, and in your heart. Deuteronomy 30 verse 14. This means the declaration of faith that we are proclaiming. Because if you acknowledge with your mouth Jesus is the Master, and have faith in your heart that Almighty has awakened him from among the dead, you will be saved from destruction. For it is with the heart that a person is having faith, which is going to result in rightness and justness before Almighty. And it is with the mouth that the person is acknowledging this, which is going to result in salvation from destruction. For the writing says, whoever is continually having faith in him won't be put to shame. Isaiah 28 verse 16. For there is no distinction between you and non-you, for the same one is the master of all, being continually rich for all who are continually appealing to him. For whoever appeals to the Master's name, Jesus, will be saved. So then, how shall they appeal to one in whom they haven't believed? And how shall they have faith in one about whom they haven't heard? And how shall they hear without a proclaimer? And how shall they proclaim unless they are dispatched? Just as it has been written, how beautiful are the feet of the ones who are spreading the good message about good things. Isaiah 52 verse 7. But they didn't all obey the good message, for Isaiah says, Master, who has put faith in the news that was heard from us? Isaiah 53 verse 1. Therefore, faith comes from hearing the news, and hearing the news is by means of a declaration about the Anointed One. But I say, they haven't ever heard about it, have they? Yes, indeed, they definitely have. Their utterance went out into every portion of the earth, and their declarations to the ends of the inhabited earth. Musical Composition 19 verse 4. But I say, Israel hasn't ever known about it, has it? First, Moses says, I will provoke you to jealousy over those who are not a nation. I will cause you to be angry over an unintelligent nation. Deuteronomy 32 verse 21. Then Isaiah is very daring and says, I was found by those who didn't seek me. I became disclosed to those who didn't ask for me. Isaiah 65 verse 1. Yet as for Israel, he says, all day long I have spread out my hands to a people who are continually unpersuaded by me, and who are continually contradicting me. Isaiah 65 verse 2. Romans chapter 11. So then I say, Almighty hasn't pushed his people away, has he? May it not come to that. For I too am an Israelite, from Abraham's seed, or descendants, from Benjamin's tribe. Almighty hasn't pushed away his people, whom he knew beforehand. Or are you not aware of what the writing says about Eliah? How he intercedes with Almighty against Israel? Master, they have killed your prophets. They have torn down your altars, and I have been left alone. And they are continually seeking my sentient being. 1 Kings 19 verse 10. But what did the notice given to him by Almighty say? I have left for myself 7,000 men who haven't knelt on their knees to the image of Baal, or possessor, Satan. 1 Kings 19 verse 18. So then, In the same way, there has also come to be in the current time period a remnant chosen as a favor. Now, if it is by a favor, it is no longer based on works, otherwise the favor is no longer a favor. So then, what does this mean? Israel didn't encounter what it was seeking, yet those who were chosen did encounter it, and the rest were made callous. Just as it has been written, Almighty gave them a spirit of deep sleep, eyes that can't observe, and ears that can't hear, down to this very day. Deuteronomy 29 verse 4. Then David says, their table must become a trap, a net, an obstacle that can cause one to trip, and a repayment to them. Their eyes must be clouded with darkness, so that they can't observe, and their backs must be bent over all the time. Musical Composition 69, verses 22 through 23. So then I say, they didn't trip so that they might fall, did they? May it not come to that, but by their offense, salvation from destruction has come to the pagans to provoke them to jealousy. Now if their offense means riches for the world, and if the diminished number of them means riches for the pagans, how much more would the full number of them mean? Now I say to you pagans, inasmuch as, yes indeed, I am a dispatched envoy to the pagans, I am esteeming my dispensing service, so that perhaps somehow I might provoke those of my flesh to jealousy, and might save some of them from destruction. For since their being thrown away means the reconciliation of the world, what would their being taken back mean except life from among the dead? Now when the first piece of dough is pure, so is the lump. And when the root is pure, so are the branches. Now since some of the branches have been broken out, and you, who are a wild olive branch, have been grafted in among them, and have become a sharer together with them in the sap of the root of the olive tree, you must stop boasting against the branches that have been broken out. Yet if you do boast against them, remember, you aren't supporting the root, but the root is supporting you. So then, you will declare, branches have been broken out so that I might be grafted in. Ideally said, they have been broken out because of their lack of faith, and you have come to stand where you are because of your faith. You must stop being high-minded. Rather, you must be continually having deep respect. For if Almighty didn't spare the natural branches, He won't spare you either. So then, notice the kindness and the severity of Almighty. On the one hand, to those who have fallen, severity. Yet on the other hand, to you, Almighty's kindness. If you are continually persisting in His kindness, otherwise you too will be chopped out. Now they also, if they don't persist in their lack of faith, they will be grafted back in. For Almighty is able to graft them back in again. For since you have been chopped out of an olive tree that is wild by nature, and have been grafted, contrary to nature, into a cultivated olive tree, how much more easily shall these natural ones be grafted back into their own olive tree? For I don't want you to be ignorant, brothers and sisters, about this secret, so that you might not consider yourselves as more intelligent than you are, that a partial callousness has come upon Israel until the full number of the pagan nations has entered. So in this way all Israel will be saved from destruction if they become believers. Romans 11 verse 23. Just as it has been written, the rescuer will arrive from Zion. He will turn away the lack of devotion from Jacob. Now this is my contract with them, when I remove their wrongdoings. Isaiah 59 verses 20 through 21. On the one hand, as far as the good message is concerned, they are enemies for your sakes. Yet on the other hand, as far as his choice is concerned, they are dearly loved for the sake of their forefathers. For Almighty never regrets his favors and his call. For just like you once were unpersuaded by Almighty, yet now have been shown mercy because of their unpersuadableness, so in the same way these now have become unpersuadable, so that because of this mercy shown to you, they also might now be shown mercy. For Almighty has locked up all together in view of their unpersuadableness, so that he might show mercy to all. Oh, the depth of Almighty's riches, wisdom, and knowledge! How unsearchable are his judgments, and how untraceable are his ways! For who has known the Master's mind, or who has become his adviser? Isaiah 40 verse 13. Or who has first given something to him, so that he would receive a repayment from him? Job 41 verse 11. Because everything is from him, and through him, and for him. May he be esteemed for the remaining ages, the present age, and the last age. Let it be true.